Next, we're going to hear from our many elected officials who are here, and I want to thank them all for their time this afternoon. First up is our amazing district attorney. You're familiar with his work, as is the rest of the nation. District Attorney Alvin Bragg.
I'm so proud to be a Manhattanite and look at all that great work, and so proud to be on the Upper West Side, and so proud to work alongside all of these great folks, including, of course, our great state senator. I wanted to talk about just relatively briefly, five areas where the senator has just led in such a great way, and we've partnered. The first is guns. And this is really a statistic that is all of ours. For the last 2 years, shootings in Manhattan are down about 40%. And that's due to, obviously, the NYPD, some of the laws that have been discussed, and in particular, both our senator and Assemblyman Rosenthal have been leading on ghost guns, which our senator mentioned, these non-serialized guns, which make it very difficult for those of us in law enforcement to track. And while we are working to get the traditional guns off the street, and those are obviously still a problem, we see this rising trend of these non-serialized ghost guns. You can literally sit at your kitchen table, you can buy a 3D printer for about $200 and print a ghost gun within about 5 hours. It is terrifying. And so I thank our state senator and our assembly member. I know it didn't pass this year, but we're gonna redouble our efforts and hopefully get that passed next year. The second issue is hate crimes. It is an issue that we're actively working on. We went earlier in my tenure and got $1.7 million from the city council to expand our unit. We had 3 assistant district attorneys working on hate crimes. Now we have about 15 to 17. And it is just so shocking and troubling what we are seeing. Our hate crime docket is an all-time high. We are bringing more cases than ever before. 40% of our hate crime docket is anti-Semitic crime. We are seeing assaults. We're seeing property damage. We're working side by side with the NYPD and bringing just more cases than ever before. The legislation, now actually the law that the senator talked about is going to be so helpful to us. The way our hate crimes law works is that you have to have an underlying crime, and it is an enhancement. And the old law was just antiquated. For example, if one person assaulted you and they did it because of your religion, that could be an assault as a hate crime. If 30 people assaulted you because of your religion, we could not charge group or gang assault because it wasn't a predicate. And our senator and our assemblyman fixed that, so we should thank them for that. The third issue is mental health. Just on the way in, I know this is on everyone's mind. A couple of people were asking me about this, and really everyone sitting over there, I'm so thankful to for working on just what we see, whether it's open-air drug dealing, whether it's homeless people in distress. At the district attorney's office, we announced 2 initiatives, $6 million of community navigators, people who have themselves had these issues, been formerly unhoused, out walking our streets, connecting with people, providing services. Our senator stood with us, helped us, has been pushing that, really, really putting mental health at the forefront. And then we recently just started last month a $3 million initiative of people right in our courtrooms. When someone is arraigned and they leave court for whatever reason, someone from Fortune Society is there to ask them what they need, and we are seeing people who we know otherwise would not return being connected immediately from the courthouse to transitional housing, which reduces recidivism and advances public safety. So really, really thankful for your support on that. And just two other issues I saw on the 421A audit. I am so excited about that. We started a tenant protection unit, and our first set of cases, we have 6 cases under indictment for people who defrauded the 421A program. So we need that. We need that. It will help us in law enforcement. And lastly, our worker protection, which again, so just honored to work side by side with all of these phenomenal electeds. When I got in, they said this is a priority. We've been working on it together, and whether it's the prosecution we did of the manager of Grimaldi's, or whether it's the prosecutions we've done of multi-million-dollar, it's just a basic contract, honest day's work for an honest day's wage, and I'm just so thankful to everyone for working alongside. I'm the new person in the club. We have so many years of phenomenal leadership over there. I'm just honored to join them. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. District Attorney. Now we're going to hear from a special message from our New York State Attorney General, Letitia James.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Letitia James, and I'm the Attorney General of this great state. And I want to thank Senator Hoylman for inviting me to address your town hall audience today. It has been my honor and a privilege to work with him, and it is my honor and a privilege to speak before such civic-minded and engaged fellow New Yorkers. First, I want to say that each of you are fortunate to have such an incredible public servant as Senator Hoylman-Sigal, who represents you in all. Such an incredible public servant as Senator Hoylman-Sigal, who represents you in Albany. There are a great many issues facing this community, and our whole state must be addressed. And it's going to take all of government. And that's why it has been my honor and a privilege to work with Senator Hoylman-Sigal side by side as we protect the state and we protect reproductive rights, that we get guns off the streets. In fact, as of today, the Office of the Attorney General has removed over 7,000 guns. We protect children online and ensure that our sacred rights and defending our democracy are protected no matter what happens in Washington. We have seen individuals opposed to our freedoms gain traction in our political spaces. Radical agendas like Project 2025 are now playbooks for many seeking high office, and that is why having leaders like Senator Hoylman-Sigal is so important. That we recognize that no one is above the law and that the law should be used both as a sword and as a shield to protect New Yorkers. Brad has been a friend and an ally in my fight to protect New Yorkers' rights. We work together to advance important legislation in Albany, including most recently 2 new laws that will help ensure children are better protected from the worst aspects of social media. And now as we see the emergence of generative artificial AI, we must ensure government steps up to this challenge. So this new technology makes our lives better. Rather than be used to scam investors or scare off potential voters, my office has been working on these issues, and I'm thrilled to have a partner like Senator Hoylman-Sigal in my corner for these fights. With Brad, I applaud your leadership in the state Senate and your commitment to working with your constituents and addressing their priorities. And I hope everyone enjoys today's town hall and everyone is up on all of the issues facing New York. And again, I look forward to seeing all of you in person. And thank you for allowing me to be a part of it and for saying a few words. And I'll see you all soon. Thank you so much. Letitia James.
That's the most unassuming I've ever seen the New York State Attorney General. Next is someone who represents integrity in our local government. And boy, do we need more of that. New York City Controller Brad Lander.
It is so great to be with you this afternoon. I just want to say, last time I got to see Attorney General Tish James in person was at the 9/11 memorial, and she leaned over, and Vice President Harris turned around and said, "Madam Attorney General." And I was just thinking, oh, that really sounds good when she says it. So we'll see, but I'm just saying. Anyway, it is great to be here with you this afternoon. I'm New York City Controller Brad Lander, and I'm so proud to be with you as New York City's Chief Financial Officer. Anybody in the room, a public sector employee or retiree, a teacher, a public hospital nurse, somebody who served this city, thank you, thank you, thank you. Your pension is in great shape this year. We had 10% returns. We exceeded our threshold, requirement, our target, by $1.8 billion, which means your retirement security is safe. And we were able to put that money into supporting more teachers and parks and keeping our streets safe. And at the same time, we're getting those great returns. We're investing those pension dollars in things that really matter. So we made an investment that helped secure the 35,000 rent-stabilized units that were put at risk when Signature Bank failed, and they're delivering great returns and ensuring affordable housing for thousands of New Yorkers. So that's the work we're doing. We also have the most ambitious decarbonization plan of any public pension fund in the country. We divested from fossil fuels. We're investing in climate solutions. So again, your pensions are safe and we're helping with the climate transition, so that is pretty great. I love working with the greater Brad. We are always happy, honestly, to be mistaken for each other because the other, at least I am, I feel like I do so well when people are like, oh, Brad, Senator, I know what you're doing. Two things I really am enjoying working with him on right now. One is around moped and e-bike safety, where he's a fundamental leader. We had a great event at the Center for Justice Innovation. This new legislation for enforcement at point of sale is critical. The legislation he's pushing to hold the apps more accountable, critical. With those things and better enforcement and some tweaks to infrastructure, we can get control back on our streets. He's leading. I'm pledged to be a partner. We also work together as part of New York Jewish Agenda, which is working on fighting anti-Semitism and hate crimes and making sure we keep this the city that we love and can keep safe together. For just 30 seconds, I will say, obviously, what's playing out at City Hall right now is really disturbing. There's just no other way to put it. To have the police commissioner resign, the counsel to the mayor resign, no one in heading up the law department, drip, drip, drip of FBI raids and federal investigations. It is making it impossible for City Hall to deliver the things that New Yorkers really need, the safer, more affordable, more livable, better run city that we all deserve. So we're going to stay focused on making sure we provide that for all of you. So you'll see in the coming days from my office a new plan to end street homelessness for severely mentally ill people in New York City. We don't have to be a city where thousands of mentally ill people are sleeping on the subways or on the streets, cycling through Rikers and hospitals and back to the street with a good continuum of care that includes more hospital beds, but also some housing first vouchers that get people the housing and care they need. We can get folks off the street into stable housing where they will not be a danger to themselves or others. So watch for that this fall. That is coming from my office. We'll have some new plans for more affordable home ownership, because it's got to be possible for working and middle-class families to imagine they could afford a home in this city. When I talk to young people right now, they don't imagine they'd ever be able to buy here again. We have the examples of Mitchell Lama, of programs that made affordable housing possible. Together with your next assembly member, like Micah Lasher, we've put forward a program called Homes for City Workers, a groundbreaking program that's going to make homeownership possible for the next generation of teachers and cops and firefighters, and watch out for that moving forward as well. And finally, I will for sure be putting out a new round of public integrity policies, because that money that we put in procurement, contracts are how we provide home-delivered meals to seniors and after-school programs for our kids and construction of our new schools and renovation of our parks and services for the homeless. And we have to know when that happens that there's competitive bidding, that there's integrity in the contracting, that somebody's cousin or brother isn't getting juiced for a contract, that there's real scrutiny. I'm proud of the work we've done in the Comptroller's office to make it happen, but it is time for a new round of public integrity policies in New York City so that we can truly ensure the safer, more affordable, more livable, more better run and trusted city government that every one of you deserve. Thank you very much. Thank you, Senator Hoylman-Sigal, for this great town hall. It's wonderful to be out here with all of you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. City Controller. You've seen him everywhere throughout the borough, and I'm very pleased to introduce our Manhattan Borough President, Mark Levine.
Thank you, Brad Hoylman-Sigal. Good afternoon, everybody. Brad, I am so grateful for your leadership. You'll be hard-pressed to find a smarter, more effective lawmaker in the state of New York. Give it up for Brad Hoylman-Sigal. Great friend and great partner for me. Sorry for being late, folks. I was at the 55th Annual African American Day Parade in Harlem, bigger and better than ever. And now, happy to be sharing a few thoughts with all of you. I want to hit 3 quick points. First, I am deeply concerned about the state of housing affordability in this borough and city. Every single month, I get a report on average rents. I got it for this month on Friday. Do you know that average rents in this borough for market rate apartments are now $5,119 per month? This is unsustainable. We will lose the next generation of Manhattanites if we do not address this crisis. This is a multi-front fight. But I want to tell you about one exciting opportunity that we have. emerging from another challenge. We have a lot of vacant office buildings in this borough. We actually have 90 million square feet of vacant office space in this borough. And some of that could and should be converted to housing, to affordable housing, to address this challenge. It will not be easy. Those buildings are big. They have floor plates the size of a football field. And to get a bedroom window in every apartment is no small challenge. It can be done, but we have some changes we have to make that possible. The law right now in New York forbids conversion of vacant office buildings in Midtown if they were built after 1961. Many of the vacant buildings are from the 70s and 80s, and they're going to sit vacant unless we fix that. We have a chance now. There's a major zoning change coming up before the City Council now. It's known as City of Yes. It's got a lot of components, but I want to tell you that one key component is to extend the cutoff date for conversion of vacant office buildings to 1990. We can do this, and when we do this, we will unlock the creation of tens of thousands of new apartments for Midtown. We can do that. And I'm very pleased that the leadership in Albany from our housing chair, Linda Rosenthal, and I know that Tony Simone and Brad Hoylman-Sigal were part of this, in establishing a program to ensure there will be affordability in these conversions so that we won't just get luxury apartments, but thanks to the tax program they enacted, we're going to get some affordable apartments in Midtown. What do you say to that? Thank you, Linda, for leading on that. We have an epidemic of fake license plates in this city, and fraudulent plates, and obscured, and even missing plates. Have you seen this out there on the streets? Have you seen these James Bond-like devices where a little screen comes down when they go through the toll? This is real. This is out there. We are losing tens of millions of dollars a year, probably $200 million a year, in tolls that go unpaid, in fines for red light cameras and speed cameras that go unpaid. We're getting more reckless driving out there because of drivers who know they will not be held accountable for running red lights and speeding in school zones. We have got to crack down on this illegal behavior, and we can do it. And my office put out an agenda that requires stiffer fines, including points on your license for fake plates, that will require boots and towing of cars parked on the street with fake plates, and that will crack down on what is right now very easily available sale of these devices online. You can go to Facebook Marketplace, you can go to Craigslist, you can go to TikTok. You can easily buy these devices from right here in New York City. It's been against the law to sell them since 2022 in New York City, and now since September 1st statewide, but they're easily available, so we're pushing the platforms to rein that in, to make our streets safer. And finally, I'm a little over time, but we got a revolution coming in composting in Manhattan. Do you know about this? You do know about this. Until now, if you wanted to get rid of your organic waste and you didn't want it to go to landfill, you've only had two choices. You could take it to a wonderful community compost site. They're great. Or you could put it, was there one applause in the back for community composting? They're great. We love them. And you can drop it in the orange bins that you've seen all over the West Side. You're going to have a better option, or at least one more, convenient for you, right in your apartment. Starting October 6th, every building in New York City will be required to collect composting, just like they separate out paper waste and cans and bottles. This is going to be a game change for composting in New York. It's going to take a lot of education to get this right. Education of building owners and supers, and also of residents. So please help spread the word about this new program starting October 6th in every building in Manhattan. Let's make this a huge success and a big win for composting in New York. Thank you so much. Thank you, Brad. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Borough President. All of your efforts on housing and micromobility and sidewalk sheds, among other things. Our next presenter will be our local state assembly member. Let's give it up for Linda B. Rosenthal.
everyone. Isn't it good to have a woman on the stage? And maybe we can translate that all the way up to our highest office in the land. Thank you, Brad. Thanks for having us. Thanks for inviting all of us. I haven't seen some of my colleagues because we always see each other every day in Albany. But since we're not in Albany, but it's good to get together, including with my soon-to-be newest colleague, Micah Lasher, who will assume the seat in the 69th Assembly District, just above this. And also Tony Simone, he's also a newish colleague, 2 years. It's great to have him too. And you know, the Assembly has wonderful, wonderful electeds, as does the Senate, Brad can tell you, and of course our wonderful DA, who we're working closely on with the Ghost Gun Initiative, and our borough president. So it's, even though you're men, it's good to have you here. Anyway, so I'm very proud to be the chair of the Assembly Housing Committee. Housing is the #1 issue that people come to my office for, whether it's evictions, whether it's people not getting the services that they're entitled to, and increasingly market rate tenants whose apartments are supposed to be governed by good cause eviction, whose landlords are not giving them leases under good cause eviction. Now, this is a brand new law that we ushered through in the budget. It basically gives rights to people who formerly had no rights, not even the right to a lease renewal, if you're not a rent-regulated tenant. Now, Ellen Davidson of Legal Aid, who's a wonderful attorney and crafter of legislation in Albany, will be explaining all of that. But if you have any issues with good cause, landlords are trying to challenge that law by avoiding it, just ignoring it. And people here, people across the city, are entitled to new rights under good cause. You just have to learn what makes you a good cause tenant. And Ellen will be explaining that. We also passed a law modernizing HPD's finance laws to spur the development of more green, affordable housing in New York City. Legislation increasing penalties on landlords who refuse to register their rent-regulated apartments with the state. So we know we've lost tens of thousands of apartments because landlords simply did not register their rent-regulated apartments with the state. The HCR has said their hands are tied. All they can do is send a letter saying you're supposed to register. But after not registering for 4 years, 5 years, surprise, the apartment is now offered as market rate because it's not regulated. So we raised the fine on $500 each month that it's not regulated, and guess what? So many more people have registered their apartments. That's just the way it's supposed to go. I guess the price of doing business is below $500 a month per apartment registration. I'm working with Brad Hoylman-Sigal, as he mentioned, on insurance for people who deliver. They don't have to have insurance, and the app should take out insurance because otherwise, if you're hit, you get nothing. And you're responsible for paying all your bills, which isn't the way it's supposed to be. I also have legislation holding delivery apps accountable for the chaos they're causing in our streets. So everybody wants their food right away, right? But you'd be willing to wait a little bit if the delivery person did not, drive the wrong way, not have their lights on the sidewalk. You all know the problem. The thing is, the delivery apps suspend delivery people if they don't get there fast enough. They just refuse to let them stay on their app. That endangers the whole city, and we can wait 5 minutes for them to obey the law. It's not their fault, it's the apps, greedy apps, more money for them, and people get hit on the street. We have to change that. We should not incentivize reckless behavior by dangling money or threatening someone's livelihood. This is very important to me and to so many people, our health data privacy. So not only is it important for women who come to New York to have reproductive health care that they're banned from having in other states. What happens is apps, anything you load your information, your personal health information on, is not covered by HIPAA, which means that anyone can get your information, and the apps sell your information. They send you ads for things they think you'd like. As a matter of fact, there was a story where a young girl she was, without her parents' knowledge, getting some reproductive health care, but the apps knew that she'd missed her period, so they sent some information that her mother got a hold of. And they didn't know that she was struggling with this, but now they knew. It's no one's business but your own, what you do with your own body. Certainly not state governments should not know what you're here in New York for. If you took a flight, if you missed your period, who knows? None of their business, but there are no rules around this. So I'm working with the AG on this, and we hope to get this done next session. There's plenty more we have to do, as Mark said, about vacant buildings, vacant office buildings. So there are a lot of them, and even though some buildings are starting to become more full than they were, the idea to turn them into residences is a good one. However, not just for the super wealthy. We need to have residences for people of all incomes. Middle income people can't live here anymore, we know that. Lower income people live in NYCHA often, which needs $70 billion to fix their housing stock. But if we're going to create new housing, it has to be for everyone. So there is a tax benefit for those developers who turn vacant buildings into residences, but they need to use those tax benefits to create housing for regular people and not create just rows and rows and avenues of homes for the very wealthy, who we know have no trouble finding a place to buy and live in for maybe 2 days a month, 1 day a month, 1 week a year. Anyway, you know how it goes. So I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to be in this museum again. We love it here. Thank you for hosting all of us, and thanks for listening. You know where to find me.
Thank you, Assembly Member Linda Rosenthal. Her colleague is here, and I'm very proud to represent my friend, Assembly Member Tony Simone.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Assemblymember Tony Simone. I represent just south of here, although I love Zaybars, and everyone knows I love gay bars as well. I just want to commend Brad. Thank you for inviting us again to the second town hall. I look forward to these. Someone joked once that Brad was an egghead. He just comes up with legislation constantly walking down the block. I strive to be like Brad Hoylman-Sigal when it comes to coming up with legislation that will actually improve our lives. And I'm not going to go through the whole litany of a lot of the bills that we're working on together. I want to be a little bit more global, and I'll mention 1 or 2 bills I've introduced and some bills that we've passed at last session. But as we know, we're at a pivot point, an inflection point in our democracy, but also, some of our opponents, I don't want to call them opponents, but some of the folks on the other side of the aisle will tell you that New York State, New York City are a disaster. They'll tell you, but in my eyes, New York City's back. New York State is back. But let's not be naive. We have a lot of challenges that were mentioned before by my great, smart, hardworking colleagues. And one particular thing I've been talking about, public policy issues, since I ran, one of the reasons I ran is we need a more livable, affordable city. And it's ridiculous. The West Side should not just be the playground for the very wealthy. We should not just have apartments and luxury apartments that sit empty and oligarchs park their money. We need middle-class housing. We need housing for the firefighter and the teacher. We need housing for every New Yorker, and they should be able to work and live in the same district. They should be able to live in the West Side of Manhattan, because, not to be biased against some of my colleagues on the East Side, the West Side is the best side. We want every New Yorker to live here. But some of the bills I've been working on, 2 new bills that I recently introduced. One is the PAWS Act. I have a rescue dog with my husband, Jason, And right now, if you hit one of our family members, the person responsible can just get like a fine of like a U-turn ticket, very low, like $50. The Pause Act I'm introducing next section will raise the fine and have a new definition for our companion animals with Senator May from upstate to ensure folks take it seriously if they're driving violently, not just against humans, but our pets and cats. And I've seen folks in New York walk their cat, so even your cat. And another bill I'm going to introduce the next session is the IUD insertion anesthesia bill. It will require contraceptive and menstrual health procedures that insurance cover it, because it's often a painful experience right now that many women do not want to go through, and they're not readily offered it. Convincing insurance companies to do this will hopefully make the procedure easier, and more women will ensure that their insurance companies are paying for it. Some bills that we passed in the last session that I'm very proud of with State Senator Hoylman-Sigal was not only taking away co-pays for PrEP in the fight against HIV/AIDS, because it's still an epidemic before many gay men I represent in the district. Another bill I'm proud of is the bill that gives money and allows for Pier 76 to create an open green space on Pier 76, along with getting the heliport out of the park. It does not belong in a park. Anyway, I just want to end by saying we still have a public safety challenge, which we've worked closely with Brad, Linda, and everyone else, and the borough president, and our great district attorney. He had mentioned it, the neighborhood navigators. Right now, the corridor between Penn Station and Penn Station and the Port Authority is very challenging. It's sad every time I walk to my office, and it's terrible to see the addiction problem, to see folks living on the street. And while there are many ways to solve the problem, I'm a true believer you can't arrest ourselves out of this problem. We need to be able to help these folks. We need to be able to connect them to housing, real supportive housing. Brad mentioned it. There is a facility in Bayview, a facility in West Chelsea that the neighborhood has embraced, that they're taking bids now, that will house over 120 individuals and families. The only way we're ever going to solve this problem is to get these folks into housing, into treatment. We increased the money for the mental health crisis in the last budget. We have to look now where that money is actually going. But I'm an eternal optimist. I know in the next few years, hopefully it won't take a decade, not only will we create housing for every New Yorker, we will tackle the mental health crisis and the public safety issues we have now and make New York even greater than it is right now.
Thank you, Assemblymember. Very proud of how you have hit the ground running up in Albany. And speaking of hitting the ground, you see her everywhere. I'm honored she's here with us today. Councilmember Gail Brewer.
Thank you very much, Brad Hoylman-Sigal. I just walked 30 blocks in the African American Day Parade, so I'm exhausted. A few things. First of all, I know for me also the issue of the e-bikes is a challenge, and we have tried everything from e-battery problems, trying to get them eliminated from the stores, to all kinds of enforcement. So there is a bill that I'm sponsoring that will pass with another package of bills in the City Council. I don't know the date, but it's going to be soon, and we're trying to get the apps, as everybody is, to do more, to do the training, to make sure that the folks are trained properly and that they don't break the law. Rules of the road. It's really hard. But I do want to thank Brad Hoylman and his colleagues, because we have a resolution that says, his bill that says the e-bike should be registered. It has to be done at the state level. It can't be done at the city level. And they should have a license and they should be registered. So I just want to thank him for carrying that bill and for all the work that the assembly member did. She said she was the only woman, so she told me to say there are two of us. So just so you know. I'm also very focused on the schools, something we did recently, which I think will help the students and the teachers, which is washer dryers in the schools are needed. There are so many young people in care, meaning shelter, migrants and New Yorkers. They come to school with dirty clothes and they get bullied. So we were able to get a set of 14 different schools getting washer dryers. Now we just have to get them hooked up, which is probably as challenging as getting the donation. But we're working on it. I just say that because I know it's not something that comes to your mind in terms of academics, but these kids will not go to school, and they're absent unless they have clean clothes, and the teachers have been taking home the clothes to be cleaned. I do want to talk about the ABC site, another land use issue. That's where ABC is on 67th Street. They left, they're going downtown. It was bought by Gary Barnett and Extel. Working with Community Board 7 and Landmark West and City Planning Commission and the owner, this is a tough one. Very quickly, we're trying to make sure that it is not too tall and affordable at the same time. But it's a rough one because there's no obvious ULURP, so just keep tuned for that issue. I also want to mention that I'm against the 5G towers. I don't know how other people feel, but I feel very strongly about it. We don't need them. They're not appropriate for our neighborhood, but that's another fight like none other. I do want to say that on the ballot questions, number one is number one, and it will be a yes. In terms of the state, but there are 2 through 6, and you may not know the city council. I must admit I'm against them because of the process. You're going to go and you're going to say, uh-oh, what are all these ballot questions? And some of them may make sense to you, but they're basically the mayor, with all due respect, is pulling the rug out from the city council and saying, I want to be in charge of the city council. So vote no 2 through 6, in my opinion. I just got the hook. In the back, you'll see on the table about 15 different events that we have that are coming up. Thank you very much to Brad Hoylman-Sigal and his amazing staff. Thank you.
And then last but certainly not least is the newest representative for the Upper West Side as of November. He's worked on in the executive chamber for the last couple of years. He actually helped us get Sammy's Law passed. He helped us get hate crimes protections expanded. I'm very proud to introduce my friend, Assembly Democratic nominee Micah Lasher.
Thank you so much, Senator Hoylman-Sigal, and thank you all for taking the time out of this beautiful Sunday to be here. It is incredibly humbling to listen to each of our elected representatives and the extraordinary body of work they are doing, and I would like to give them all a big hand. And I will just say, thinking about the topics on the agenda for today, I think each of them in a way reflects the moment we're living in which on a day like today you think, boy, we are living in the best neighborhood, in the best city in the world, and yet we still have real challenges. We passed, thanks to the leadership of the legislators here, important legislation, and to District Attorney Bragg, important legislation on hate crimes, and yet we are facing unprecedented rates of hate crimes, hate harassment, and particularly anti-Semitism, and that is a challenge we have to continue to confront. Thanks to the leadership of Assemblymember Rosenthal and Senator Hoylman-Sigal, we have made our streets safer, and we've gotten people out of their cars, and we have made it more environmentally friendly, and at the same time we have a scourge of e-bikes going the wrong way, down bike lanes, riding on sidewalks, and really making everybody feel less safe. And that is something we need to work on, and I will be proud to be a supporter of Assemblymember Simone and Senator Hoylman-Sigal's legislation to create a state regime for licensing of e-bikes. And last but certainly not least, Assemblymember Rosenthal has been an incredible leader on housing in the state of New York, and we have made enormous progress with sweeping protections for tenants in 2019, for rent-regulated tenants, and with the good cause eviction legislation passed this last year. But there is still so much more to do to make housing more affordable in this state and to protect tenants. And Borough President Levine has been a leader on addressing the enormous shortage of housing. We just haven't created housing almost at all in this state and city, and that is something we desperately need to work on. And what more can I say about Councilmember Gail Brewer other than she does it all the time, and she's a model to us all. So I'm really looking forward to serving with all of you on the stage, and to listening and learning and trying to do everything I can to help all of you in the audience. So thank you so much.